Spalding. Like a bit of swamp stew tonight, I believe. Oh my god. Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. How long you been there? Well, anyways, welcome back to the swamp. On this week's episode of our vlog series, I'm going to be discussing the anthropomorphic Buddhist carvings. Now, for those of you who don't know, our dataset consists of a very large variety of anthropomorphic Buddhist carvings, and these usually depict the Buddha, bodhisattvas, and Jataka tales. Now, for those of you who don't know what a bodhisattva is a person who is able to achieve enlightenment, but postpones in doing so in order to help other mortal beings escape from the cycle of suffering. As for the Jataka tales, they are actually stories of the Buddha's previous lives as a bodhisattva. Now, what we see here are a lot of these bodhisattva deities which were actually carved into stone for specific purposes, and a lot of these bodhisattvas were worshipped for specific benefits that they would provide to the worshippers. For instance, the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, who was actually worshipped because he was believed to help travelers and merchants reach their final destination. Alright, Spalding, I'll be back. Don't move. Now, these anthropomorphic images make up an interesting part of the dataset, not only because of the information that they contain, but also because of their styles, some of which are elaborate, to say the least. Now, these carvings provide an interesting insight into the way that Buddhism was actually practiced in this part of the world during its early stages. What we see from distribution analysis is different concentrations of these big anthropomorphic and diverse anthropomorphic Buddhist images throughout the Karakorum. Specifically at the site of Chilas and Talpan, we have a significantly higher concentration of Buddhist anthropomorphic carvings, which coupled with our knowledge of how Buddhism actually facilitated trade and how it operated in the first millennium AD, we can theorize with a certain degree of certainty that there may be more Buddhist archaeology located at Chilas and Talpan. Alongside the distribution analysis, during my BA I conducted stylistic analysis on the anthropomorphic carvings. Now, what I learned from this were two interesting things. What we see here is imagery from all over the region coming together in one place, such as imagery from India, from China, from Afghanistan and Central Asia, all in one place, especially in the site of Talpan. Now, another thing that was also interesting to note was that certain stylistic ornaments that these carvings possess are actually paralleled in real life, in actual artifacts, such as the carving of the Bodhisattva Maitreya and the crown of Kizil, which was found in the tombs of Kizil in Xinjiang, China. So basically, to summarize what we've learned from these anthropomorphic carvings is that we see styles coming all the way from regions such as Gandhara and Kashmir, all the way up to Xinjiang and vice versa. And we can learn a lot about the early transmission of these religious ideas, as well as the way they go through these trade routes and leave an imprint in order to form a very, very unique artistic style. Well, looks like I better be getting on. Looks like it's prime swamp down there. Yeah. Oh yeah. For the second part of our Buddhist data set, I leave you in the hands of our project leader, Dr. Marike van Aerde. She'll tell you more about the Stupa carvings that we have in the Karakorum. See you later, folks.
stupas are the main architectural features in early Buddhist culture. And we find a lot of them in the ancient Gandhara region and also among our rock arts in the Himalayas. They're very important for archaeologists to understand the development of monumental Buddhist culture and art that spread all the way from India throughout China, Korea and Japan since the early first millennium. Now, and some of the stupas that we find depicted in our rock art data sets are some of the earliest known visuals of these buildings, roughly from around 2000 years old. Buddhism, of course, is slightly older, 500 BC, but the building of these stupas really dates to the same time as our rock art. Now, in our data set, we have various types of stupas. You see some here drawn in the sand. We have a lot of very simple, small stupas, which are easy to carve for merchants traveling through these mountains. It's very hard to carve in these rocks. It's very thick granite, so just a simple shape, a round shape with some banners on top, we can identify that already as a stupa. And we find these along the travel routes, a lot of them quite small, and they seem to have been also a kind of lucky charm for traders on their perilous journeys. Some of the other stupas are more elaborate. Here is a sort of an impression of one of them where you can, in the carvings, identify different layers where some of the relief panels were carved in a real architectural stupa depicting the scenes of life from the Buddha. In these simple drawings, we only see the panels. However, we also have very elaborate stupas in our rock art sets, such as this one here, drawn in the sand, just a basic impression. Some of these carvings are over 2 meters tall, and they feature these panels with Buddhistic scenes that worshippers would walk around and say their prayers, their sutras, and learn about the life of the Buddha. Now, obviously, these are not actual buildings, but it seems to us that in the main station posts of the Karakorum routes, elaborate stupas were carved by artists to sort of replace physical architectural stupas. So it then allowed traveling merchants who were Buddhists to practice their religion on their way all the way to China. And as far as we can tell, based on our data, this was some of the earliest introduction of the religion of Buddhism to China. Later on, in the early first millennium, Buddhism became very popular in China, and our rock art are some of the earliest examples of this religion making it towards the east with carvings such as this.
Was an interesting explanation about stupas, wasn't it? But you know what? I've got an idea. You know what's better than talking about stupas? Actually visiting one right here in the Netherlands. You guys ready for a road trip? I know I am. Let's see. Mike!
What?
You want to go on a road trip?
Sure, where?
Dokkum.
Okay.
Alright, let's go. Looks like it's time for me to be leaving the swamp, folks. See you in Dokkum. So, welcome to the Stupa in Dokkum. As you can see here, we have a beautiful white stupa, which is actually very, very architecturally similar to the carvings that we have in the Karakorum. And what we can do is take a little look around, show you guys what a real stupa looks like, and you get to see it for yourself. Come on. So, a lot of stupas are known for actually being reliquaries, where relics were kept at the center of the structure itself. Here we have a small room where you can enter, where there are statues that you can give offerings to. So, we had a little look around the stupa and we really enjoyed ourselves. It's a wonderful place to visit. I would highly recommend it. Mike, you have any thoughts on our little trip to the stupa?
Well, obviously it's very inspiring and unique to be here. And I think that hopefully we can encourage some more people to show up and meet the lovely people here.
And we hope you guys also really got to learn a little bit more about how stupas are in reality. And when you check out our data set, hopefully you can see what we're talking about with the stupa that we have here. So yeah, I guess it's back to Leiden then, hey?
Like so. Hello. Hello.